the age of 14 and took vow of silence for 12 years while studying scriptures. Acharyaji was certain that religion is not about finding moksha, but it is also resolving everyday challenges and bringing peace and happiness to others in day-to-day life. She decided that value of love and compassion taught by Mahavir spread to one and all. In 1972, with the blessing of Puja Amar Muni, she initiated her seva work in Rajgir, Bihar, with three objectives: seva, siksha, and sadhana. And Sichanna Vidyapit is one of the result. She believed that children are like clay and can be shaped and taught the values of nonviolence and compassion, friendship, and mutual respect. According, Accordingly, she provided education facility to the poorest in Rajgir, Pawapuri, and Lashwar, which is the land of Mahavir. She also realized that most common disease in that area was affecting the eyesight. This resulted in the construction of eye hospitals in Rajgir and Palitana. The foundation of Virayatan has become a strong and permanent, and that there was no stopping of good work. Virayatan humanitarian activities spread in Singapore, Malaysia, Africa, USA, Dubai, UK, and world around. Thus, Virayatan, known all over the world and established as a genuine international humanitarian organization. For the first time in history, Jain tradition, Sadhviji, personally involved in selfless service and running education institutions, hospitals, and occasional training centers. Acharya Siji explained, life is not one-dimensional. All lives are interdependent. Service is no different from spirituality. Service is spirituality. This is how Acharyaji started the sowing the seeds of Mahavir compassion in hearts of one and all, touching the life of many people. Acharyaji has unlimited energy. For her work is worship. She has been coveted with so many awards internationally as well. She believed instead of creating a temple in village, rather make the entire village temple. Our SCVP is the result of our inspiration, teaching, teaching the same ideology as Mahavir. Puja Amar Muni once said, for Acharyaji, everything is possible, nothing is impossible. कुछ भी असंभव नहीं है जग में, संभव सब संभव हो सकता है. Once you have conviction for the cause, you can do it. Thank you and Jai Jananda. Thank you everyone for taking part and so many good stories and nice poems from SCVP students. And thank you Rita Ben for organizing such a wonderful program on Acharya's birthday. And once more, I wish Acharyaji many happy returns, and we wish Sat Sat Jiyo. It's Subkamna. Jai Jananda. Now I request Asha Ben to recite a prayer for our Guru Puja Acharya ji.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. Happy birthday, Taima. गुरु सूर्य है, चंद्र गुरु है, गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश. गुरु के चरणों में मिलता है तन मन को उल्लास. गुरु सूर्य है, चंद्र गुरु है, गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश. गुरु फूल है, गुरु है उपवन, गुरु ही अगर सुवास. गुरु नीर है, गुरु है नदियाँ, गुरु सागर है विशाल। गुरु वाणी की लहर से जीवन बन जाता है मिसाल। गुरु सूर्य है, चंद्र गुरु है, गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश। गुरु है माता पिता, गुरु है गुरु सखा साक्षात। जीवन के मुश्किल राहों में वो ही पकड़ता हाथ। गुरु सूर्य है, चंद्र गुरु है, गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश। गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश, गुरु ही पूर्ण प्रकाश। Thank you.
Thank you, Asha Ben. That was lovely singing. Jai Jinendra to everyone. What a wonderful assembly we just had to celebrate our dear Acharya Channaji's 85th birthday. Hope everyone is well. We will be starting our...
Jirendra, as we are running late, so I'll go through some of the things quite quickly and we'll hand over to Rajeev Bhai. So let me share my screen first. Okay. Ajit, Shanti. We started this last week. It's one of the beautiful poems in our religion, one of the 9 smaranas. Smarana means what is worth remembering, worth reciting, and all 9 smaranas are very pious, prabhavsali, and these are the 9 auspicious, sacred recitations. Ajit Shanti comes on number 6. Right. This is the temple of Ajit Nath, or second Tirthankar. It's in Taranga, state of Gujarat. It's a beautiful one. And Ajit Nath Bhagwan, I mentioned that last week, who was Ajit Nath Bhagwan, so wouldn't repeat this again. And of course, as Ajit Shanti, the name implies, it's in praise of 2 Tirthankaras, Ajit Nath and Shantinath. It's a unique poem because you wouldn't find any other poem in Jain literature which praises 2 Tirthankars in one poem. Either you will find a poem which praises just 1 Tirthankar or 24 Tirthankars. But this one, this particular one praises Ajit Nath and Shantinath, 2 Tirthankar. Shantinath Bhagwan is our 16th Tirthankar. That's in Leicester also, you probably know, the Nayak, the main idol is that of Shantinath Bhagwan. Now, Ajit Shanti Stav, who wrote this, who composed this? It says that poet Nandi Sen, he composed this stotra, this poem. And when was Nandi Sen born? There are 2 different theories. Some people say that he was born during the time of Bhagwan Neminath. And some people say that no, he was born during the time of Bhagwan Mahavir Swami. Right. There are 40 sloks or verses or gatha in Ajita Santi. They're very beautiful. Each one is composed by using a different meter, chand. And last week I told you, I informed you that some sloka or some chand meter are, say, Gaha, Silogo, Magadya, all this one after the other, and which verse number. So, and then I explained something about the Gaha Chand, which is verse number 1, and explained that how difficult it is to construct proper line using a short letter, long letter, short syllable, long syllable in a proper manner. So this is very difficult, but our acharyas were very versatile, they were scholar, and they have composed this stotra, this poem. Then I mentioned about the 8 divine achievements. Then verse number 11 and 12 had some, what Chakravarti possesses, what are the now nidhis, 9 different types of treasures. If you have missed that, you'll see it in YouTube last week. And different types of musical instruments. Everything was so systematically laid out in our ancient time that these are the different musical instruments. Some are the string instrument, some are drums, different type of wind instrument, musical sound generated, and different types of dancing postures. That is also mentioned in this stotra, in this poem. So you can see that what prevailed during that time, social life, musical instruments, art, culture, our habits, our lifestyle, everything has been depicted in Ajit Santi. Dancing postures, what ornaments they were wearing. It's marvelous thing. It's amazing to know all these things, that during that time, people were using this, girls were using this. And different hava, bhava, and vibrama. That means how you use your mudra, your fingers, your face, everything was systematically taught. Musical notes, when you learn harmonium and other thing, you learn all these notes. That was also given in our ancient scriptures. So let us start with verse number 1 now, and I am going to just explain 1 to 6 only. Then Rajeev, of course, he will take over from me from verse number 7 to verse number 40. Of course, he will finish, I believe, in next week. Ajiyam jiya savabhayam santincha pasanta savagaya pavam jaya guru santi gunakare dovi jinavare panivayami gaha. Now, after every verse, the name of the meter is also written, and that is always sung when people sing this. And our Asha Ben, she sings everything very beautifully. So let us see the meaning of it. First 6 gathas, praise Ajitnath and Santinath, both Jinvaras, both Tirthankar. So the verse number 1, it says, Ajiyam Jiya Savabhayam Santincha Pasanta. You can see Ajitnath and Santinath. So the meaning is, I bow down to the 2 Tirthankaras. One is Ajitnath, who removes all fears, Savva Bhayam, Bhaya means fears. Jia. Now the word here he says Ajiya means Ajitnath. And the Jia means the one who has attained victory. So Ajitnath has attained victory over all sorts of fears. And one is Ajitnath, who removes all fears. And the second one is Shantinath, who destroys all sins and dispels all discomforts. Santincha pasanta sava gaya pavam. Pavam, pava, એટલે પાપ અને ગયા means રોગ, diseases. Our Shantinath Bhagwan is capable of removing diseases and our sins. So Jaya Guru Santi Gun Kare Dovi Jinvare Panivaya me. So both are my gurus and they are the Jagat Gurus, and I would like to pay my homage, pay my tribute. I would like to bow down to these two Tirthankaras. Now, verse number 2. This is also in a meter called Gaha. And as I said, there's a strict composition, how each and every letter has been used by the poet. Vavagaya mangula bhave, te ham viula tavva nimmal sahave, niruvama mahappa bhave, thosami suditha sabba bhave. Vavagaya mangula bhave. Again, I'll worship two Tirthankaras whose inauspicious atoms have disappeared. Inauspicious. Mangul means inauspicious. Bhava, all the feelings. Atoms, Vavagaya, they have disappeared. Teham Vyulatava Nimmala Sahave. Nimmala Sahave. Nirma Swabhav. Good nature, pure nature. Na છે એ નિરુવમ મહપ્પ ભાવે. Let us read this. I will worship two Tirthankaras whose inauspicious autumns have disappeared, who have practiced great austerities. શું છે? Great austerities have been practiced by them. And Thosami means I would like to pray, I would like to worship him. Suditha Sabhave. Suditha, Sarvadarshi. It's like attaining Samyak Darshan. And Sabhave, my feelings should be as good as Samyak Darshan. And I would like to praise this Tirthankar, both Tirthankar again. In verse number 2, we are praising and praying to both the Tirthankaras. Now this, I was saying this to you last week. This itself is a mantra. Savva dukha pasantenam. The one who can destroy all our miseries. Savva pava pasantenam. One who can destroy or subdue all our sins. Saya ajiya santinam. Here, see this first one. Saya ajiya santinam. Saya means always. Ajiya santinam. Here, it doesn't mean Ajitnath and Shantinath. Here the poet says that always the one conquers over his inner enemies. Ajit. He attains victories over his inner enemies. And the second Tirthankar is the one who is the giver of peace. And who are they? Namo Ajiya Santinam, the Ajitnath and Santinath. So these two words, Ajit and Shanti, first time the poet has used as victorious and peaceful, and second time he has used to denote their names. And as I said, this itself is worth remembering. Sabva dukha pasantinam, sabva pava pasantinam, saya ajiya santinam, namo ajiya santinam. I bow down to Ajitnath and Santinath Bhagwan. Verse number 4. Ajiya jina, O Ajitnath, suhappavattanam, suhappavattanam. You are capable of giving us sukh. Sukh means all happiness, all comforts, everything. Ajiya jina suhappavattanam tavapurishtama namakittanam. The noble one amongst the men, O Santinath the noble Jineshwara, બંનેનું નામ છે તમે જુઓ. અહીંયા સંતિ લખ્યું છે, અહીંયા અજીય લખ્યું છે. O Ajitnath, the noble one amongst the men, and O Santinath, the noble Jineswara, your worship would spread happiness, tolerance, and intelligence. Dhi mai pavattanam, a happiness, tolerance, and intelligence. So you are the giver of all these things. And here, the name of the meter, the chand, the composition is called Magahiya. So different type of composition. This is a different type of composition. How many letters come in each line and everything is different. So it is Magahiya. Now, number 5. This meter is called Alinganam.
Decongest your nose, helping you breathe free, naturally, natural and effective.
Someone, Alingan. Kiriya vihi sanchiya kamma keles vimukhayaram ajiyam nichiyam chagunehim mahamunis siddhigayam ajiyasaya santi mahamunino via santi karam syam mama nivui karanayam cha naman sanayam. There are 4 lines in this chand because that's how the composition is. That is the rule of this Alinganaya. Alinganaya, the rule છે કે 4 લાઈન અંદર આવે. તો શું કહે છે કે these types of super achievements can only be secured after having gone through the hardest of penance like Mahavira did. Hardest of penance. Like refusion to Ajitnath and Santinath Bhagwan. There are, sorry, missed. Where is it? Yeah. These types of super achievements can only be secured after having gone through the hardest of penance like Mahavira did, or after having what? Let me say. You can read that, yeah? Number 5. Can you read it all?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. જુઓ, અજિતનાથ પ્રભુ અને શાંતિનાથ પ્રભુને કરેલો નમસ્કાર મન વચન અને કાયાની ક્રિયા વડે કિરિયા વિહી સંચય કમ્મ કેલેશ, કર્મનો ક્લેશ જતો રહે છે. અજીયમ નિચયમ, અને કેવું છે? તે કર્મમાંથી મુક્ત કરના છે, કોઈથી પરાજય ન પામ્યો છે. He cannot be defeated. ગુણોથી ભરપૂર છે, ગુણે ही all is full of all the virtues છે. મહામુનિની સિદ્ધિઓથી યુક્ત છે, સિદ્ધિની યુક્ત છે. તે નમસ્કાર મારી શાંતિને કરનાર થાઓ અને મુક્તિને કરનાર થાઓ. એટલે may these prostration bring me proper victory and peace. Purisa, O man, Jai Dukkhavarnam, Jaya Vimagha Sukha Karanam. If you are looking for the removal of misery, Jai Dukkhavarnam, Yadi, that means if you want the elimination of your misery, or Vimagha Sukha Karanam, and if you want happiness, Ajiyam Santim Cha Bhavo, then you should take refuge unto Ajitnath and Shantinath. Ajiyam Santim Cha Bhavo, Abhay Kare Saranam Pavajja. And why you should do this? Why you should take refuge unto him? Because he is Abhay Kare. He can grant us fearlessness. We won't be afraid of anything. We won't be afraid of any misery, any calamities, any upsarg in our life. So what you should do? Saranam pavajja. O man, take refuge unto him. Go to his saran. એનું શેલ્ટર તમે સ્વીકારો, એના પગમાં સ્વીકારો અને તમે એના જેવા થઈ જાઓ. Be like him. So first 6 gathas are in praise of both Tirthankaras, Ajitnath and Shantinath. And from now on, what Rajeev Bhai is going to take, some gathas are in praise of just Ajitnath, some gathas are in praise of just Shantinath Bhagwan. But each and every gatha, each and every verse is beautiful, beautiful, worth remembering, worth reciting. And this particular, the 6th one was called Magahiya. The name of the chand was Magahiya. So Jai Jinendra, enough for today, and let's hear what Rajeev Bhai has to say. Thank you, Rajeev Bhai.
Thank you very much, Vinodbhai.
Beautiful slides.
I know we had a late start, so I hope we might overshoot by about 5-10 minutes. I hope that's fine with everyone. There are 40 verses in Ajit Shanti, and as Vinodbhai has done the first 6, so there are quite a lot of verses to cover. So hope you don't sort of mind just overshooting by 10 or 15 minutes. So as Vinodbhai mentioned, that this is about Ajit Shanti, the 2nd and the 16th Tirthankar. I just wanted to highlight some points that, initially Vinodbhai did explain that this is a prayer or eulogy to Ajitnath and Shantinath Bhagwan. Derasar is actually in Palitana, Nautuk. And I'll just literally play a short video clip so you actually get a visualization that this prayer was composed by Nandishen. And as you can see, that before the legend says that the temples were side by side. So when he used to pray to this Tirthankar here, his back was facing this temple here, and the other way around. So it's not a good form of respect when your back is facing this Tirthankar here. So by composing Ajit Shanti, these actual temples came next to each other. And if I just play the short video, it will give you an actual visualization of the actual temples in Nautuk when you go to Palitana.
Ajit Shantini Diri.
So that just gives you this. If you do go to Palitana, then it's worth going via the Nautuk route, and you can actually see these 2 temples there. I'll skip a few slides in the interest of time. Vinodbhai has already covered the first slide, but it's just important to realize that when he talks of fears in Samaisar, actually 7 fears are mentioned. These are the different fears. And what is of essence, I find in this is that there is actually a kind of a circular reference that hinsa or violence leads to revenge mentality, and that leads to fear. So essentially when we say that Ajitnath Bhagwan and Shantinath Bhagwan are without fear, is essentially that without any hinsa. So they've got no violence within them. So that's also quite important to realize in the first Gatha. Now, someone actually asked last week that why have you actually just selected 2 Tirthankars and praising 2 Tirthankars? Because we have got 24 Tirthankars. Now, what's interesting to bear in mind is that Tirthankars are all same. They're all equal. So if I praise one, I'm praising all. And if I'm praising all, I'm praising one. Let's take an analogy. If you went and bought a sari, one of the most expensive saris available, and you described that this sari has got wonderful embroidery, look at the color, look at the design. So if you actually gave that kind of description to one sari, then someone who buys another sari is actually got the same description. There's no difference. So essentially, when we are reciting the qualities of Ajitnath and Shantinath Bhagwan, because they are Tirthankars, both of them have got the same qualities, and those qualities are equally applicable to all the other Tirthankars. But because of this temple having Ajitnath and Shantinath Bhagwan, it's actually specifically for that. But it does not mean that the qualities which Ajitnath has or Shantinath has are not applicable to all the other Tirthankars. So we'll just skip Gatha 3. What's interesting in this Gatha too, when we are actually praising these Tirthankars, there are a lot of virtues we are reciting about these Tirthankars. And what you think is what you become. So in the physical world, if I praise your wealth, will I get it? The answer is no. But in the spiritual world, if I praise your wealth, your spiritual wealth, will I get it? Certainly. And that's why Manso Tap Kareche, when the kids recite such beautiful prayers, apne anumodna kareche. So we are saying that, we are actually trying to say that, we are praising what you do, and hopefully I will also reap the same benefits. So it's very different in the physical world and the spiritual world. That's why we are actually reciting the lot of the good virtues of our Tirthankars in all these 40 verses. Vinodbhai did mention about the mantras embedded in the third slok, and as you can see that Savad Dukha Santinam, that actually if you take each mantra, Upsarg Nam Mantra, Mangalkar Nam Mantra, and Sobhagya Nam Mantra. So these are each of these two words here and joined with Ajiya Santinam. So the first mantra is Namo Savad Dukha Santinam, Ajiya Santinam. The second mantra is Namo Savad Pava Santinam, Ajiya Santinam. And so again, these are powerful mantras embedded within this verse. Vinodbhai also mentioned that these are composed in special meters, and in these meters, as you can see, that each of them is ending in nam, and as you can see that all of them have got certain number of letters in perfect symmetry. So it's just beautiful to see that kind of symmetry within these verses here. In the fourth Gatha, which Vinodbhai mentioned, he talks about happiness, and also what's quite important to see, it's got a lot of analogy to Uvasagram Stotra. આપણે ઉવસગ્રામ સ્તોત્ર બોલે છે એમાં કરે છે ચિઠ્ઠો દોરે મનતો તુજ પણાવોઈ બોફલો હોય. So what that means is that in Uvasagram, forget about any mantras. Just by simply reciting your name itself will give me all these benefits. તો અહીંયા વર્ષમાં શું કહે છે? અજયજીના સો પવત્તણમ તવ પુરુષ નામ કીર્તનમ. હે ભગવાન, તમારું ખાલી નામ લેવાથી જ I'm getting so many benefits. Forget about any mantras or anything. Just literally by reciting your name, all my sorrows and problems will disappear. And I will get happiness. It's again Stanang Sutrama Kiduche, what kind of happinesses can you get? There are different kinds of happinesses: good health, long life, sufficient wealth, personality, the needs being satisfied. And in this particular one, it's quite important to realize that Maslow, he was a very famous psychologist in the 1940s, and he's got this Maslow's hierarchy, that the first thing which people need is their physiological needs to be met: food, water, warmth, and rest. Then you need your safety needs, then belongingness, and then you can climb up. So we cannot think of religion unless all these basic needs are met. So ama pani ke juda juda jatna happiness we do need. Again, this one is a nice description of how the verse has been composed. The fifth verse, again, Vinodbhai discussed about the different kriyas, and it says that these are the different kinds of activities which we can do, which we can bind karmas with. And oh Bhagwan, please let me not bind any karmas by doing these activities here. Now again, in this Gatha, it says about power. And Vinodbhai again last week mentioned that these are the different powers one can get by reciting this verse. Now, when you look at the physical world, we talk about superpower, nuclear power. And here we are talking about spiritual powers. And there's a very nice story in terms of the spiritual powers. There was Acharya Padlit Suri. He was born in Ayodhya, and his father was Fulchandra and mother was Pratima. He was named Nagendra as the mother dreamt of a snake. At the age of 8, he became a monk. And once when he went for alms, on the way back, he went to his Guru Maharaj and composed a poem. And he said, "Oh Guru Maharaj, a beautiful newly married woman has offered me alms. Guru was enraged. You are burning with the fire of passion. Don't you remember you are a sadhu? And he says, Pali tosi. Now look at this. Apna Gujarati ma apne શું કહે છે? પડી ગયો. So Guru એને શું કીધું? You have fallen down. But the disciple is very quick-witted and replied, Oh Guru Maharaj, can you please add a word in what you have told me? Pali tosi. Don't say Pali tosi, say Palit. And then Guru blessed him. And what Padlip means was a special power that you can fly in the sky. So since that time, he was known as Padlipta. He could apply an ointment at the bottom of his feet, and legend says he could fly. And what was his vow? He daily wanted to visit 5 tirths: Satrunjay, Girnar, Mathura, Samet Shikar, and Astapad. And only then would he consume food and water. And once when his disciple also became a monk, and the disciple then named Palitana after this. So the name Palitana is actually coming after this Acharya Shri. So આપણે કે અમે Palitana જઈએ છીએ. So Palitana actually comes from this Acharya Padlipta Suri, who had the ability of flying. And look at the Siddhi which he attained. Vinodbhai also mentioned about the 6th Gatha. It's a beautiful Gatha. It actually reminds me of, have you seen the Christian evangelists who are on the road and saying, oh man, come to the feet of Christ, he will redeem you. And this Gatha is almost saying the same thing. Oh people, are you looking to get rid of your sorrows and seeking bliss? Then really come to the charan of Ajitnath and Shantinath Bhagwan. And he says, અહીંયા કે છે અજ્યમ સંતિમ જો ભાવ ઓ એટલે હું ભાવથી કરું છું with lot of feelings. And what are the different kinds of feelings is actually given in this 9. You should actually, the feeling should be so intense that wealth, family કે કાંઈ પણ destroy થઈ ગયું તો પણ my mind is resolute on bhakti. And then it's just, these are the different kind of ways of what you should have and indicators of what kind of full of devotion and bhakti you have. Now looking at the 7th Gatha, Arai Rai. So this Gatha is actually saying, I too will go to the shelter of Jineshwar Bhagwan and always bow down to them. Whose shelter? Ajitnath Bhagwan. And what is his quality? He is devoid of attachment and aversion and overcomes the cycle of birth and death. He is revered by gods of heavens. Nama gods no પણ લોકો description આપે છે. And so there are also kind of the philosophy of Jainism is given in these gathas, that we have got different kinds of gods. Vaimanik Dev હોય છે, Bhavanapati, Jyotishik, and Vyantar Bhagwan Devs હોય છે. And Ajitnath Bhagwan is also proficient in Sunai. Sunai is like Anekant, and it's like a relativistic viewpoint. He's a bestower of fearlessness and revered by both humans and heavenly beings. We don't have time to cover Nai, but Nai is a very extensive topic in the Jain philosophy. And it really gives, how can you look at any concept from different perspectives. Now to give you a simple example, if there is a teacher and some says, oh yeah, he's a teacher. But when the teacher goes to home, he's not actually a teacher. He becomes a father to the son. So when you say, a teacher, the teacher is only a teacher at school, but at home he becomes a father. So you have to become very, very specific. So when you say which na you're talking from, are you talking about the literal point of view or etymological point of view? So when you're talking of philosophy, you really have to be very specific, and there are a lot, it's a very broad spectrum. And Acharya Siddhasen Divakar is supposed to be the father of Jain Nai, and there's a very extensive books written on Nai. The 8th Gatha says, I with a pure heart and mind, speech and body, bow down to you. Tam cha jinuttama muttama nittama satta dharam. And kon Jineshwar keva છે? What is their qualities? They're upholders of the best and pure valor, strength, mental and physical. They have a treasure of simplicity, humility and forgiveness, generosity and utmost equanimity. The bestower of peace. They restrain their senses and establishers of tirth. Now it's very striking to see that आज આપણે અહીંયા જોઈએ છે વર્ષમાં અજ્જવ મદ્દવ ખાંતિ. Now if you look at આપણા જ્યારે પર્યુષણ થાય, after the Swetambar's purjutions are over, then the Digambar purjution starts. And what they celebrate is Das Lakshan. And in that Das Lakshan, they actually celebrate the 10 virtues. Uttam Shama, Uttam Maryada, and Uttam Arjav, and the others. Look at exactly the same here. Ajjav. Ajjav means Arjav, straightforwardness. Madhav, Uttam Mardhav, supreme modesty. And then Khanti, Uttam Shama. So these are kind of the qualities which the Tirthankars have, and you can see the correlation between this and kind of the words here. and what the Digambars celebrate during the Paryushan. Now, the next few verses are taking each Tirthankar in a sequence. So first Ajit Nath Bhagwan, and he's going to be describing Ajit Nath Bhagwan prior to taking Diksha. How was he like? And then after he became a monk and got Keval Gnan, what are his qualities? So these verses, the next few verses are going to describe both aspects of Ajit Nath Bhagwan, and then the next two verses will describe Shanti Nath Bhagwan. So what does it say in this verse here? In Shravasti, before Lord Ajit Nath took Diksha, he was a king. And very Shravasti, very close to Rajgiri, where Taimai is right, so it's very close to that. So Ajit Nath Bhagwan was in this land here, and he was a king. And how was his physique? Varhatti Mathaya Pasatha Vitina Santiyam, whose physique was beautiful and wide. Like kingly personality kevi wide, broad-chested king, very majestic. And like an elephant's forehead. Kapadatu was like an elephant's forehead. He was sthir, solid, perfectly symmetrical, and there is a Srivastava on his chest. Now this is quite unique to Jainism, that it says that the Tirthankars have actually got a special diamond type symbol on their chest, and then that's common to all the Tirthankars. So as you can see, even after Murti Mapan, if you've seen the Murtis, you will be able to see this symbol on the Tirthankar's chest, whose gait is like an intoxicated and playful elephant. Look at the poetry and the descriptions. King Chalta Hase, he was like playful, and he was in he was walking such royally. And it's worthy of composing a stuti. Santha Variham, stuti karva layak che. His arms were like a trunk of an elephant. Hatti hatta bahum, hathini sut jeva hatwada ata, whose complexion is pure and yellow like melting gold. Now, as you can imagine, after Jainism, if you look at the ream sound, that our 24 Tirthankars, they have got different colors attributed to them. So Parshvanath Bhagwan has got green, Munitswar Swami Bhagwan has got black, or even Neminath Bhagwan. And most of the other Tirthankars have got a gold complexion. And then the Tirthankar has got ultimate symbols, Chhatra, Chamar, whose personality and appearance is pleasant and peaceful. So now you can see the transition of the Tirthankar going from like a king to now he's got the Kevaldan થઈ ગયા પછી કેવી જાતનો એનો symbols છે. ને જ્યારે ભગવાન બોલે છે ત્યારે it's pleasing to the ears, joyous to the mind, and even sweeter than the sonorous and best sounds from the angels' musical instruments. Can you imagine કે દેવ-દેવીઓ જ્યારે એના બધા instruments વગાડતા હશે, એના કરતા પણ more pleasing is ભગવાનની વાણી. Speech that is pure and auspicious. Dev Dundhubi, as you can see here. The 10th Gatha, Ajiyam Jiyarigadam, Jiya Savabhayam, Bhavahoriyam, Padamami Ahampayo, Pasam Pavam Pasameume Bhayam, Rasa Luddavo. Ajit Nath Bhagwan, who has won, overcome. Ari, apne Arihantanam kech, Ari means enemies. And Gan means group. So Ajit Nath Bhagwan has won a group of enemies. એટલે આપણા senses, આપણા 5 senses છે, બધા કશાયોને જીતી લીધા છે. Which leads us to temptations and sins. He's won over all the fears. And as I described in the previous slide, if you have won over all the fears, you have even overcome all hinsa. He has got no hinsa at all. He's eliminated the cycle of birth and death. Bhava ho riyum. Bhava apne kehne bhava bhava. હું પ્રણામ કરું છું એ તીર્થંકરને. I humbly by mind, body and speech bow down to Ajit Nath Bhagwan, and please help me to destroy my inauspicious karmas and sins. This is again the Taranga Tirth, which Vinodbhai described, ke Bhavya Tirth che, where Ajit Nath Bhagwan ni murti che. Now the next two verses are describing Shanti Nath Bhagwan. So who was Shanti Nath Bhagwan? So again, two aspects to Shanti Nath Bhagwan. The first aspect is, whilst he was a king before he took Diksha, and then he's going to be describing his qualities after he got Keval Gnan. He was residing in an area called Kuru, in a town of Hastinapur. Lord Shantinath was a king prior to taking Diksha and was an emperor. Now emperor is something special. Not all Tirthankars were Chakravarti. Kuntunath, Arnath, Bhagwan, they were like Chakravartis, and Chakravarti means supreme emperors. They actually conquered vast amounts of land. He was a king of 72,000 cities. Bhavattari. Can you see here? Bhavattari. He was king of 72,000 cities and thousands of towns and trading centers. Now, what word is Puruvara, Sahasa, Varanagar. આપણે કહીએ ઇન્ડિયામાં ઘણા વાક્ય છે કોલ્હાપુર, So Pur means capital city having castles and moats. And then Pur means main town, Nagar means a smaller town, and Nigam means trading centers like Bombay or Delhi. So there's a town, there's a city, there's a village. So similarly, he was king of all this, and the descriptions which they are given here. And when he had conquered all this land, who had 32,000 kings, Battisa Rayavara, Battisa. So 32,000 kings of smaller regions were in his service. And who had 14 special jewels, possessed 9 special powers, and had 64,000 beautiful wives. So essentially, each kingdom he conquered, so he conquered 32,000 kingdoms, so essentially 2 ladies from each of those kingdoms would become his wife. And can you imagine that what were these 14 special jewels? If you look at it, he had an army, supply of food, and all these kind of different, what's listed here, these are all these jewels which he had. Now, one thing you have to bear in mind that, for example, when you think he had 64,000 beautiful wives, you have to keep in context the time period which he was born in. Look at this picture here. Not too long ago, say 50 years, 100 years, or 150 years ago, most of our grandparents or great-grandparents, they had lots of siblings, 10 people, 11 people, 12 brothers and sisters. Just recently, now even having 2 kids is becoming like a challenge. So how the period has changed. Similarly, this was a period whereby, it was quite normal for people, even Lord Krishna had lots of gopis. So you have to keep in mind the time period which we are talking about. And the description given of all these towns is very similar. Right now we've got security, transportation, government, these are all the different departments here. And it's very similar to what the special jewels which the king had at that time. He had also special powers, procedures for establishing towns and cities. He established maths, arts, music, craftsmen for jewelry and other adornments. He had people to look after special jewels, drapers and experts in clothes and apparel, very similar to today. For example, Narendra Modi, if you may know, that he had a special suit commissioned, and each of these lines has got Narendra Modi written on it. And this suit was actually then auctioned and it got into the Guinness Book of World Records, sold for rupees 4.3 crores. So must have been a special draper who must have done this similarly in those times also. And they were also establishing towns and cities. In fact, there is actually research shows that Mohenjo-Daro has actually got a lot of relics. And Mohenjo-Daro is actually in Pakistan right now, not too far from Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. So obviously before the partition, this must have been one area. And a lot of academics and historians say that they've actually found sculptures in this region which resembles the Shramanic religion. So these are murtis which are in that kind of Padmasana stage, Bhagwani murti either in Kausab posture or in the sitting posture. So it's almost very undeniably that this area must have been, and as we know, Jaisalmer area, there are lots of Jain temples around here. So and it shows how extensive the city planning was done at that time. It further goes on to say that he had 8.4 million horses, elephants and carriages. So as Vinodbhai was saying, it gives you so much description of what was in that time period. It gives you an idea that animals ke jatna se time na. He was rulers of 960 million cities. And this is whilst he was a king. Now let's transition to Diksha le lidhi, habe ne keval gyan thei gyu. Santi karam, now he's a bestower of peace. Santinam, sari rite tari gayela che, who has crossed this cycle of birth and death. Sabha bhaya, he's free from all kinds of fears. Santing thunami, amazing to see thunami. Apne કેટલી બધામાં આવે છે thunami. Whenever this comes in, ami means it's I. Apne ke hosirami, ichami. હું કરું છું. It all say ami when the kind of suffix ami comes, it's always I. So ami is I and thunami means હું થોઈ કરું છું, સ્તુતિ કરું છું. So હું કરું છું. I eulogize Santinath Jineshwar, please bestow peace unto me. Now Santinath Bhagwanu, there is a beautiful derasar. This is actually in Maharashtra, very close to Kolhapur, and it's called Kumbhojgiri. And it's on top of a mountain. And it's not as extensive as Palitana or Girnar. You can climb this in about 15 minutes. And there is a derasar of Jaggwala Parshvanath here. And actually on top of this roof, is this temple here of Shantinath Bhagwan no. And it's again very beautiful to see कि आज ये तीर्थमा both Digambar and Swetambar Derasar is here. And they've got a beautiful well here. And it's also very interesting to see that they've actually got this kind of murtis out in the open space. Chaitya used to be in temple, and temple means they were outdoor temples. And you can see that outright, no matter how many monsoons have come, these kind of structures are out in the total open. હવે અજિતનાથ ભગવાનની પાછી હવે આવે છે. Ikhag Vidya Harisara. So Ajitnath Bhagwan was born in the same clan as Lord Adeshwar Ikshvakshu. So that's what Ikhaga means. And what does Ikshu mean? Sugar cane. Okay, જ્યારે આદિનાથ ભગવાન હતા, આદિશ્વર ભગવાન, એને જ્યારે આખું he fasted for one year, and then જ્યારે એને પછી પારણું કરવાનું હતું, then he was given sugar cane juice. So since that time his clan is known as Ikshvaku. So Ajitnath Bhagwan is actually of that same clan. Ajitnath Bhagwan was king of Videha. Naravasaha, he is best amongst the humans. Muni Vasaha, he is the best amongst the munis. All the sadhu theyach, he is the best amongst them. Whose face resembles bright new moon of the winter season. Vigayatama, who has removed all ignorance. Vihuraya, this is exactly like in Logos. Vihuraya mala pahina jaramarana. One who has removed the karmic dirt particles. O Ajitnath Bhagwan, O Ajiya, Uttamateya, you are the best. You have the pure radiance. And you have got all these great qualities, O great Muni. You have got great strength. And Vyula Bala, Vipul means extensive. You have got extensive lineage, both mundane and spiritual. Obviously, we know that from a spiritual point of view, his lineage continues all the way time from Adeshwar Bhagwan. But even as a sadhu, he had an extensive lineage. He had this many 95 Ganadhars, like Bhagwan Mahavir had got 11 Ganadhars, whereas Ajitnath Bhagwan had 95 Ganadhars. Nakyavada Kevalis, Sadhus and Sadhvis. I bow down to you. You are Bhava Bhava Murana. You are destroyer of fear of cycle, birth and death. You are a refuge to the world. Oh, please give me refuge. Please protect me. Mama Sharanam. આપણે કજ મંગલિકમાં પણ આવે છે. ચત્તારી શરણમ, અરિહંતા શરણમ, સિદ્ધા શરણમ. Oh, મને શરણ આપો, મને રક્ષણ આપો. Please give me refuge. Oh, protect me. This verse is very beautiful. Devadana, Vinda Chanda, Suravanda, Hatta Tutta, Jitta Parama, Lattaruva, Danta Rupa, Pattasaya, Suddha Nidda Dhavala, Danta Panta, Santi Sati, Kitti Mutti, Jutti Gutti, Pavara, Tittateya Vandade, Sabiloe, Bhavi Papa, Neya Paisame Samaim, Narayo. So Ajitame Rakti Gao, it's very beautiful. And what it says, O Lord of celestial beings and humans, you are akin to the moon and the sun. You are worthy of worship. And what he's trying to say, look at our earth ma, moon and sun કેટલું બધું આપણું importance છે. Without the moons, we will not have the oceans. And without the sun, we will not have anything to eat. So you are so important. You are great. O blissful Lord, O equanimous Lord, you are the greatest. You have the most radiant and beautiful form body. And you also got a bright and shining row of white teeth. You've got supreme strength, radiance, supreme path of liberation. You've got supreme speech, and you are the supreme monk. Even an assembly of devas meditate upon you, whose fame and glory extends throughout the world. Worthy of knowing, please grant me equanimity. Now it's really interesting to see here. What really strikes you is that even an assembly of devas meditate upon him. Can you imagine that Dev Devyoni કેટલી બધી powers ase, and what kind of prominence they have? Now let's take for an example. Okay, if you have any product here, you have the products are actually promoted by stars, and then everyone follows them. Or people like Aishwarya Rai Hoy, if there's a jewelry, then if she endorses this advertisement, people will follow her. Now let's for a moment imagine there's a group of all these leaders gathering in Davos, and if you imagine all of them get up together and then they start bowing down to someone, wouldn't you actually be startled? બધા leaders, America, China, Russia, everyone has got up and they're actually bowing down to someone. You'll wonder, who is this person? Okay, and that's going to make you curious. And this is exactly that same kind of bhav. Akla Dev Deviyo, who had got immense powers, immense prominence, and they are now bowing down to someone. Who is this person here? It raises curiosity. Just bear with me for another 3 or 4 minutes. I just want to get to, we are on the 16th Gatha. I'll just get to the 20th Gatha and then I'll.
Sorry, Rajeev, just being conscious of time, we are approaching 9:45.
Yeah, I understand that. So let me give me just 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
So in the 16th Gatha, he's saying, even more gentle than the pure crescent moon. You're even brighter than the sun rays on a cloudless sky. You're even more beautiful and impressive than the assembly of lords of Indras. And you are even more stable than the Meru mountain. Bhagwan qualities described. And again, as you can see, that the verses are composed in such a beautiful language. What's happening is Satya Saya Ajiyam. So the ending is Ajiyam in all of them. And then and these are kind of the different leaves. So the composition is like that. You cannot ever match your spiritual energy or vigor, cannot even match your physical energy or valor, cannot even match your top. Bhagwan તમારું top એવું છે કે no one can match this. You're restrained. And I'm eulogizing that Ajit Nath Bhagwan. Even the winter season's new moon cannot surpass your gentle, soft, calm nature. Even the winter season's sun cannot surpass your brilliance and radiance. And again here, as you can see, like Logos, Bhagwan is being compared to the moon and the sun. Your stability and your resoluteness is like Mount Meru. Nothing deviates you. You are establishing the Tirth. You are devoid of ignorance and karmic particles. You are praised and worshipped by the wise people. You are devoid of revenge and quarrels. You are propagator of peace and happiness. I eulogize to Shantinath Bhagwan by concentrative, attentive meditation by mind, speech, and body. I am going to the shelter of the great sage. Now, you are praised by the wise people. In fact, this is Valbipur, whereby our Agams were compiled in Valbipur. There were 3 councils, and one of the councils was in Valbipur. And these are actually 500 acharyas who got together, who decided, okay, now we cannot pass on the knowledge by word of mouth, and we need to compile. And this is actually all these acharyas nabadi murti kairi chaya. And so therefore you are praised by these wise people. Again, આ વર્ષમાં આવે છે અભયમ અણહમ અરયમ અરુયમ અજિયમ અજિયમ પયોપણમે. એટલે અહીંયા it's very beautifully written. It starts with a, then ajayam. So it's very beautifully composed in this verse here. Yeah, and this is the last slide. So it says you have been worshipped by eminent sages with folded hands on their head. You are without any doubt, fickle-mindedness with full of concentration and focus. You've been eulogized by mind, speech, and body by Indras, various gods of heavens, kings, and chakravatis, many times. You are brighter than the winter's sun due to tap. How are you getting this personality? Because tap karo cho, so that's why you're getting this aura and the personality. Scriptures have described Charan Munis are able to walk in the sky due to the penances. Even a congregation of such Munis eulogizes a Tirthankar. So people who have got such powers can also eulogize in Tirthankar. I am bowing down to your head, eulogized by the different kinds of gods, even by the different devs, and so many, the Dev Deviyo બધા ભેગા થઈ જાય છે, they're all venerating you. You are fearless without any sins. You are without any karmas. You are without any ailments. You are invisible. And oh, Ajit Nath Bhagwan, I'm giving devotion to you, bowing to you. So that's, I think we'll stop here at this stage. Sorry for rushing it a little bit, but Jai Jirendra.
Thank you very much, Rajeev Bhai. That was actually very, very interesting to learn about the Ajit Shanti, all the details that you were mentioning. I want to thank you to Vinodbhai as well. And earlier on, we had a beautiful assembly dedicated to Acharya Sri Channaji Maharaj to celebrate her 85th birthday. I would like to thank all the children who participated, Asha Ben, thank you to Navin Bhai, thank you to Rita Ben for coordinating this. We have one announcement for this weekend. There is a memorial service online for Nilesh Bhai Doshi. If you would like to join, there will be details sent over, and please join on this weekend. And that's it for today. We'll end by reciting the Manglik. Chattari Mangalam, Arihanta Mangalam, Siddha Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, Kevali Pannato Dhammo Mangalam Chattari Loguttama Arihanta Loguttama Siddha Loguttama Sahu Loguttama Kevali Pannato Dhammo Loguttamo Chattari Saranam Pavachami Arihante Saranam Pavachami Siddhe Saranam Pavachami Sahu Saranam Pavachami Kevali Panatam Dhammam Saranam Pavachami. Jai Jinendra, have a wonderful week and see you next week, Friday. Okay, I think
Rajeev?
is everyone logged off?
Rajeev?
Sorry,
No, thank you. Sorry, our apologies actually for, and Vinodbhai as well, our apologies for the late start.
and that's fine.
But yeah, it was my fault, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. But yeah, really interesting. You're carrying on next week, right?
Yeah, next week is the last one. So the format will be, we'll finish off the remaining verses, and then Ashaben is going to recite the Ajit Shanti towards the end.
Okay, fine. All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajeev, Vinodbhai.
Yeah, sorry, it sort of overran, but
No.
then rather than take an extra session later on, I thought otherwise it will be left halfway through. Like let me just quickly cover to the, because Charlie's got so the idea was to get to 20 now, and then next week again 20.
Next week
will require some time to recite. She might need 10 or 12 minutes to recite Ajit Shanti. It's quite long.
Next week, Rajeev, if you need a little bit longer, it's also okay. If you wanted to slightly recap this week's and then carry on. So if we need a little bit longer next week, we should be okay.
I think થઈ જશે time because આ પૂરું થશે પછી આશાબેન જો અજીત શાંતિ ગાશે તો એના રાગથી ગાશે તો રાગમાં it will take good 10-12 minutes to recite.
Okay.
It's quite a long prayer. So yeah, I think next week when it might sort of overshoot by 10-15 minutes with I finish and then Ashaben doing Ajit Shanti.
We'll try and start on the dot anyway, 8:15, so you have as much time as possible.
Yeah, that's fine. Vinodbhai, sorry, yeah, Vinodbhai is on mute. Yeah, I think Vinodbhai mute to push.
Okay, we need to stop the YouTube as well, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop.
No, you can't. You're not host.
No, but I'll stop it from the website.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Jai Jendra.
Thanks very much, Jai
Thanks.
Jinendra. Rita Ben, well done. Fantastic.
So proud.
Our kids are just amazing.
Actually, they've written so many poems, so we are going to gather it all up.
Yeah. We might need to upload your recording that you've done. We might need to upload that onto YouTube so we can then put the YouTube video together for the whole thing.
પછી details મોકલજો.
Yeah, I think that we'll need Yash to help with that side of it. And he was lucky that you were logged on.
I should have saved it on the Zoom. I unfortunately saved it on the computer.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah,
There's a way to upload it. So.
Yeah,
if I have details on YouTube, then I'm happy because I do the right ones.
So if you log on to our YouTube channel, I think just upload it into there. Okay. All right. I think I've got it, or Yash will have it anyway. And then he'll need to merge the two.
Oh no, what I did is I stopped it once this once all taken. I stopped it before the Vinodbhai શરૂ કર્યું એની પહેલા પછી I restarted it again ત્યારે. So I've got two.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what we can do. That too. Well done, Kajal, as well.
So now are we able to
do anything.
Sorry?
Sorry, Nileshpa, are we going? Will we be able to log in? Is it all sorted?
Yeah, I think. I think. Oh, can you not hear me? Yeah, I've got problems with my laptop. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think it was locked for 30 minutes. I think from it tried the login. So hopefully it should all be back to normal now. So yeah, I guess just as well, it's lucky that you were logged in already, Vitamin. So
yeah.
Otherwise, we'd have to wait till 8:30 before we could start. So.
When suddenly, make it on my computer, because I don't log out unless someone logs me out.
That's lucky, yeah. I was just in a rush and I kept on typing 4 instead of 5. And
one of those things, yeah.
And then I kicked myself because I was trying to do it quickly while I was trying to print off the schedule and everything, and then it said locked, and I thought, oh God, okay.
I think talking about passwords, it probably is a good time to think about changing it at some point. Maybe we do it at the February half term, because they do recommend changing it every so often. So
stop the YouTube. Who is hosting?
Where was the host?